They said I was cursed before I could even speak. At just 2 months old, my mother walked out the door and never looked back. My father stayed, but his love was paper thin. And my grandmother? She didn't see a child in her arms. She saw a burden. But what no one told me was the darkest secret of all. One hidden inside the pills I was forced to swallow every day. One whispered about behind closed doors. One that would shape every wound, every betrayal, every scar on my body. This is my story of abandonment, abuse, survival, and the truth that almost killed me. My name means gift from God. But growing up, I never felt like a gift to anyone. If you had stepped into my grandmother's house, you would never have believed it. I was the shadow child. While other kids ran outside playing hide and seek, I was locked indoors. If I dared to join them, I'd feel the lash of an electric wire across my back, or the sting of pepper water rubbed into raw skin. I ate from separate plates and spoons, washed separately, and was forbidden to touch anyone else's belongings. At 5 years old, I was already being taught I was unclean. My father wasn't cruel, but he wasn't present either. He worked long hours, sometimes disappearing for weeks. When he came home, he barely spoke. He sat with his newspaper, his silence thicker than any wall. So it was just me and my grandmother, and she made sure I never forgot. In her eyes, I was the reason her son's life had fallen apart. When I turned 8, everything shifted. One afternoon, my father came home pale and shaking. A week later, my grandmother dragged me to the hospital. I wasn't told why. I was just pushed into a chair, poked with needles, tested, and then sent home. Days later, she shoved a plastic bag of medicine into my hands. "Take these every day," she barked. No explanations, no instructions, just pills. That became my new routine. Wake up, eat, swallow. Go to school, come home, swallow. Every day, every week, every month. The pills had names I couldn't pronounce. Their colors changed from time to time. Sometimes they made me nauseous, other times so dizzy I couldn't stand. But the punishment for refusing was worse than the side effects. Once I tried to spit one out. She caught me. The beating that followed left me curled on the floor, my body striped with welts, my throat burning from the pepper water she forced me to drink. I never disobeyed again, but the question haunted me. Why? Why me? School should have been an escape, but it was just another battlefield. I wasn't allowed to share snacks or drinks with classmates. If they passed me candy, my grandmother would throw it away in disgust. If I sat too close to another child, she scolded me in public, shaming me like I carried a plague. And slowly, the whispers started. "She's cursed. She'll never live long. Stay away from her." By 12, I had no friends, just the quiet of my small damp room, the pills lined up like soldiers on my bedside table, and the endless beatings when I failed to meet her impossible standards. Some nights, I lay awake staring at the cracked ceiling, wondering if maybe she was right. Maybe I was a curse. The truth came out when I was 13. At the hospital, I was invited into Teenage Zone, a group for kids like me. For the first time, I was surrounded by laughter, by teenagers who looked me in the eye, who didn't flinch when I touched them. That's when I learned the truth. I wasn't just sick. I was HIV positive. My world cracked open. Suddenly, the pieces fit together. The pills, the beatings, the separation, the shame. I remembered being 8 years old, handed a bag of medicine without explanation. I remembered my grandmother's disgust every time she looked at me. It all made sense now. But what broke me was the realization that this had been kept from me. My father knew. My grandmother knew. They let me live in the dark, thinking I was a curse, never once giving me the dignity of the truth. That day, I walked out of the hospital shaking. I wasn't cursed. I wasn't possessed. I was a child with a disease I never asked for. Anger burned inside me like fire. I turned it toward my father. Why hadn't he told me? Why had he sat silently at the table all those years while his mother tore me apart? But the betrayal cut even deeper when I discovered he had remarried. I found out by accident. A neighbor whispered about his new wife in another town. He had other children, a new family. And in that life, I didn't exist. I went to see him once. His new wife answered the door. She smiled politely until I said my name. Then her face hardened. She shut the door in my face. That was the moment I realized. I wasn't just abandoned by my mother. I was erased by my father. One night, as I lay awake, I heard voices in the kitchen. My grandmother's sharp whisper carried through the walls. I never wanted that child. If it wasn't for my son, I would have let the sickness take her when she was a baby. Her words sliced through me like glass. I wasn't unloved. I was unwanted. A mistake she had tolerated only out of duty. I pressed my face into the pillow and sobbed silently, praying no one would hear. By 15, I couldn't take it anymore. I packed a small bag, slipped my pills into my pocket, and left before dawn. For 2 days, I lived on scraps, hiding near a bus station, convinced I could start over. But my grandmother tracked me down. She dragged me home, hissing threats in my ear. She said if I ever ran again, she'd call the police and tell them I was spreading disease on purpose. The fear of being locked away kept me trapped. My body was in her house, but my mind began dreaming of freedom. At 16, rebellion nearly killed me. I stopped taking the pills. I was tired of being chained to them, tired of feeling like my life was nothing but medicine and pain. Weeks later, I collapsed in school. I woke up in a hospital bed, my chest burning, my body weak. The doctors told me if I had waited any longer, I might not have survived. Lying there, hooked up to machines, I realized my grandmother might not care if I lived. But I cared. Deep down, I wanted to survive. One nurse noticed the bruises on my arms. She asked gently, "Who's hurting you?" First, I said nothing, but her kindness cracked something inside me. Slowly, I told her pieces of my story. She listened. She didn't recoil. She didn't look at me like I was dirty. For the first time, an adult didn't see a curse. She saw a child. She introduced me to counselors, helped me start journaling, gave me strength to believe that maybe, just maybe, I wasn't beyond saving. When I was 19, my father died. At the funeral, I was ignored. His new family kept their distance. I was a stranger at my own father's burial. But among his belongings, I found a letter. It was addressed to me. In shaky handwriting, he admitted he had always known my status. He said his silence wasn't out of hatred, but shame. He had loved me, but he had been too afraid of the world's judgment. The words cut me in two. Love hidden under cowardice. Truth hidden under lies. The scars remain emotional and physical, but so does my strength. My grandmother called me a burden. My father erased me. My mother abandoned me, but I refused to be defined by their choices. Through the hospital program, I found family. Through counselors, I found a voice. And through pain, I found purpose. I stand here today with one declaration. I am not a curse. I am not a mistake. I am a survivor, and I will conquer.